Two things to point out before we start this video. Yes, my monobrow is in full force. And secondly, this video was meant to go out last week, but I kind of got sidetracked. So we're going to go back to 2 videos a week, Tuesday and Thursday uploads. Anyway, enjoy the video. The Nexus 6P is one of those phones that, despite being heavily flawed, is loved regardless. The 25 collaboration between Google and Huawei saw rave reviews for its, at the time, massive, high-quality display, loud stereo speakers, and excellent design. Little did they know that just a few short years later, it would be at the bottom of the list for many looking for a used phone in 2020. But before I get onto the negatives, we really do need to celebrate some of the Nexus 6P's greatest aspects. For many, that 5.7-inch QHD AMOLED was really impressive, and even today, it looks damn good if you can ignore that burn-in, which we'll discuss a little bit later. And paired with those loud, front-firing speakers and the headphone port, you've got a pretty decent multimedia consumption device. And that was its biggest trait, along with the stock Android Oreo 8.0 software that it's now on. Its iconic design, its rear capacitive fingerprint scanner, top camera visor, and premium chamfers are all some of the best of any at its time. Isn't it funny how this has a fingerprint scanner but the Pixel 4 doesn't? I don't know, that's backwards if you ask me. Anyway, its cameras were never heralded as the best by any means. I took some photos with my model, and whilst they're not bottom of the barrel at all, it shows just how far we've come in smartphone camera technology. And when you think that now the Pixel's biggest focus is its camera, it certainly puts the market as a whole into more perspective. It launched in September of 2015 alongside the Nexus 5X for $500, and can we please take a minute to appreciate that a flagship used to cost $500 and now they're upwards of $1,000, if not going up to around $1,500, and if you want a foldable, you can double that for the Galaxy Fold. Sure, newer phones have heaps more tech in them, but I mean, we were spending so much less on our smartphones back then. You can now pick up a used Nexus 6P on eBay for around £80 in 2020, but you really shouldn't. I get that there are people out there who love this thing, but I really never saw the appeal. Although saying that, I really loved the universally hated Nexus 6, so maybe I'm in the wrong. But as the last in the Nexus family before the Pixel came out, this was seen as the pinnacle of the Nexus, but I really don't think it was the best. There were so many problems, the first of which is incredibly obvious on this otherwise pristine unit that I have here. That's Amoled Burnin, and it's a significant issue on older smartphones, but the 6P suffers from this a lot more than others in the market. Now, as with any phone, it heavily depends on how bright the display has been running, how long the display has been on, what's been on the screen, etc. But even when taking these conditions into consideration, the Nexus 6P seems to be more of a culprit than its competition. The second issue is one of two battery problems. Now, the unit I have here lasts about 2 to 3 hours on a charge, depending on what kind of usage it's getting before it shuts down. And no, that's not 2 to 3 hours of screen on time, that's just 2 to 3 hours in general. Now, you can go out there, go on eBay or whatever and get a replacement battery and put it in, but as we've seen before, this kind of happens again and you have to change the battery again. My friend Harry, for instance, has had 4 batteries in his Nexus 6P and they still need to be replaced. His unit gets to around 40% and then it shuts down, and a lot of phones do suffer from this early shutdown issue where they just shut down at like 60%, 40% really early in the day. And when you go to power them back up, they just tell you that the phone needs charging. The third issue, another battery one, is that there have been many cases of the cell inside expanding and causing damage. What it will do is push the screen up and away from the aluminium housing and potentially break the boards and connectors inside. Again, I've seen this firsthand, and it's not necessarily like the battery is damaging itself, more that it's damaging other things, and cells expanding can be really dangerous, so it's recommended that you either chuck it away in a safe way or you get it changed as quickly as you possibly can. The fourth concern is one of boot looping. I actually made a video on this a couple of years ago, and essentially where the phone will power up but not get to Android, and it will just keep booting and booting and booting until the battery runs out of charge, and then it will die and you can kind of try again. It's different if you had a removable battery, you could just take that out and reset it, but in modern smartphones that's not really a thing. Now, there was a fix a while ago where you could disable 4 of the 8 cores of the Snapdragon 810, and that way it would work a little bit better and you'd get rid of the boot looping, but it didn't work for everyone, and obviously disabling 4 of the cores of the CPU really isn't that good of a general thing. So the Nexus 6P in 2020 it's a headache is what it is, and it's not something I can recommend. Now there will be those of you out there who are going to want to build a Nexus collection, or maybe you just like the nostalgia idea, and for that you can kind of get away with a 6P, but you really shouldn't use one of these as your daily driver. And I'm not going to go through like benchmarks and really real world testing it, because it's not worth it. The phone doesn't last all day, the camera isn't great. The really only good part of it is the screen, and the screen has burn-in, so I wouldn't even use that as a daily driver. Now, around £100 is what you can pay for a really good condition one of these. This one costs around £70, and it's just a shame to see a phone like this going to waste, because it's otherwise a really nice phone. And you know, it's got big bezels, and it's got a headphone port and stuff that you wouldn't necessarily see on a brand new phone, but I didn't mind it. I'm okay with it because it's more functional. Well, not this one, but you know, the idea of the phone is more functional. You can get, I believe they started with 32 gigabytes of storage, but it doesn't have micro SD expansion, which is a shame. Not that I'm saying you should just go out and buy one regardless. I think you can get so many good phones on the cheap these days that are brand new, like the Redmi 8 or whatever. I'll put a link in the description to the video that I did. That phone costs like £100 to £150, so it's a little bit more expensive, but you get so much more phone, and the fact that it's brand new is going to help as well. I really don't see why you would go out and buy one of these. And the Google Pixel is the much better buy, because it has far newer software, has better internals, far more reliability, and costs just a fraction more as well. I'm going to have my video coming out on the Pixel 1 fairly soon, because it's something that I feel you can compare to the 6P. I might even do a bit of a comparison to see where the differences are, but what I'm going to say, TLDR, is the Pixel 1 is far superior to the Nexus 6P. So, the Nexus 6P sits in the modern history books as a bit of a failure to many. Plagued with issues, it's got to be one of the most unreliable phones that we've ever seen. Why Android fans continue to love it is a mystery to me, but then again, I don't really understand fanboys. And that's about it from me. So that's the video over. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave your comments in the comment section about the 6P. Did you own one? Did you really like it? Have you always wanted one? Or are you like me and you don't really see the appeal in it? You know, I'm a Nexus lover. I love the Nexus 4, Nexus 5, Nexus 6. Just really wasn't a fan of the 6P. As with most videos these days, I'm acknowledging the fact that I need a haircut and that I'm very spotty, but also the fact I haven't left the house in a month because of the whole pandemic thing. So I also need to give a shout out to Noah for buying this phone, so thank you so much to him. You should check out his channel, link will be in the video description, along with all of my social medias and my Patreon page. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Patrons, thank you so much for being continually supportive of me. Please do like, dislike, comment again, and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll see you in the next video.